Hello guys and girls and ghouls of all ages. Bored now back with you and my latest horror movie review for October 2019, and for this one I've gone with a bit of a British horror classic, and that is The Innocents from 1961. It is directed by Jack Clayton, and it's adapted from the Henry James novel The Turning of the Screw, which has been sort of readapted and produced for many different horror movies and TV series over the years. And it stars Deborah Kerr, who's a famous actress of the era. And it's a pretty familiar sort of ghost sort of story with some really interesting twists. So at the start of the film, she is hired. Her name's Miss Gibbons, and she's hired as the new governess of like a country manor, and she's hired by the owner of the estate to look after the children. The owner of the estate is this really rich, sort of posh guy who's quite obnoxious from the start. I love the fact that he actually refers to the children as poor little brats, and he kind of means that affectionately. That's pretty funny. But anyway, he hires her because he says, he doesn't have any time to look after the children. He's not really fit for it. So she becomes the new governess, and she arrives at the estate, and she slowly starts hearing mysterious dark tales about the mansion and about the sort of background and the children, because there's one girl already there, and there's a boy called Miles who is away at college or school, and Miss Gibbons finds out that he is coming home even though he's still at school and the term is still going, and he's been sent home because of misbehaviour. But what's quite spooky is the young girl, whose name I forget, she actually sort of predicts this. She keeps saying, Miles is coming home, Miles is coming home, even though it's like the middle of the term. So it's almost like the young girl has a premonition and predicts this, or then she's sort of willing it to happen, and then the next day they get a letter saying he's been sent home because he's bad behaviour. So things really pick up when Miles gets home, and there's all these like dark secrets about the past, about a guy who used to work there. He used to run the place. I think his job was actually as a gardener, but over time he sort of took over, and Miss Gibbons hears about, him having like some sort of relationship with the mother of the family who has now passed away. And there's all sorts of suggestions of ghosts and, mysterious goings on around the house. So that's the setup, and a bit more actually I've given you, but there's lots of little reveals and revelations as we go along, and it's a very psychological film because a lot of it is played quite ambiguous. Some of it may be in Mrs. Gibbons' head, some of it may be true, sort of thing. It's always kind of left open for the imagination. So do I like The Innocents? This is my second time watching it. I saw it a long time ago on TV. In fact, I've got a nice little BFI Blu-ray version there. Some nice special features. Couple of short films by Jack Clayton included. Nice little booklet. So really good edition if you can get hold of it. But do I like The Innocents? Yes, I think it is a classic. I think it lives up to its reputation. I really like the pacing. I really like the style of it and the mood, and just how subtle the pacing and the direction is. Some of the imagery is really surreal and quite dreamlike, and a brilliant lead performance by Deborah Kerr, she really carries the film emotionally and does some really subtle acting. Sorry, that's not the best look. I'm wiping my nose on screen. But yeah, I think it's a wonderful film. I think what the psychology is really down to a T. And I think the trick to it is, as in the title suggests, the innocence. It is taking these two children, and it's making them sort of sinister and unpredictable and scary, and it's taking simple little things and just twisting them so that they are creepy and unnerving, terrifying, and it's almost the mystery behind those characters and behind the house and its history, which makes it really engrossing and really scary at times. So, I mean, a good example, it opens with the girl, whose name I'm still trying to remember actually, but you hear her humming like this sweet little song really, but it actually opens in darkness and you can just hear her humming the song, and the song is called, it's actually called Willow Way, but the lyrics, beneath the weeping willow. I think it's quite a famous song, but just stuff like that in the darkness, that song which hums throughout the film, and it turns out then there's like a music box in the attic which plays that same tune. So just stuff like that. It just takes little innocent things like that which seem quite harmless and playful and just turns it into this sinister, like gothic type horror movie setting and idea. And just the way it captures like the faces of the children at times, so there's a shot quite early on where the girl is watching Miss Gibbons sleep. She's there at the end of the bed just watching her eyes, which is very, very sort of creepy. And there's a shot, that transitions. I think it might be from something that just transitions into a shot of flowers, and the flowers look quite dreamlike, and you get, I think, just the way the film uses sound and tension and just this attention to detail it has with every little shot, like the framing of certain shots. And just, the sound design is very atmospheric, very sort of dreamlike. It has a very naturalistic sort of sound design, but it uses that in a very, creepy, atmospheric way. That's very unnerving. There's just something about it. It shows you what a really fine director Jack Clayton was. He really took his time with the film and perfected and really crafted it. And I love one of the very early shots when Mrs. Gibbons first gets to the manor, where she's just wandering through the field, and you have like this glorious sort of music, and you see this wide open space and all these picturesque sort of plants and stuff, and just a sweeping shot along the countryside. But it just has this dreamlike sort of air to it, where it's setting up and she's just wandering into this like wondrous sort of landscape, and she's getting lost in it almost like a dream, and that's kind of setting her up to almost become entrapped by it by the end of the film. So the setup is really, really, really nicely done. You get to know the characters, and you slowly build to the more tense set pieces and some of the big reveals. And as I said, it just takes the most innocent, mundane things and makes them kind of terrifying. A game of hide and seek, for example, which leads to other stuff like her looking around the attic. And the use of atmosphere like the wind blowing. And one of the most creepy shots in the film is like just after, well, when they're still playing hide and seek and the children get Miss Gibbon to go off and hide somewhere. She goes like downstairs to a window, and out of nowhere from the darkness appears like this shadowy figure, this really creepy looking guy. And it's explained to her later that that's the guy who used to run the house, but he is apparently dead. And again, is she imagining that because she's just seen a picture of him in the attic, and slowly she starts hearing the backstory and about this kind of freaky relationship, he had with the woman of the house, if you like. But yeah, there's lots of really clever, really powerful imagery, dreamlike imageries, like just a shot of the girl looking at a spider just like eating another insect. This really bizarre sort of random thing, and yet in the background, Mrs. Gibbons is reading the letter about Miles misbehaving and coming home. And you get like gothic shots of like the top of a tower where she thinks she sees the guy. It's almost like a gothic castle. So again, Clayton is sort of playing with that classic horror sort of imagery. And I should talk about Deborah Kerr's performance because she was a great actress, and this is probably one of her best well-known roles. And she's absolutely brilliant. Just the way she paces it is perfection. So she literally builds the performance across the film. She embodies the character. You really believe in the torment of the character as things go on. The physicality, the little subtle facial expression. They're all just really on note. Really, it's a perfectly paced performance. So it gets to the stage where at the end of the film where she just has a complete breakdown and all these things are hitting her and she does become more hysterical. It's totally believable. It's totally credible. And it's brilliant because that's what you should do in a horror movie, in a psychological horror movie like this. You slowly build the performance. And yeah, you truly believe that she is slowly going crazy, but also about her passion, her desire to get to the root of this, and how determined she is to actually kind of save the day and get to the root. And I mean, it turns out then it appears anyway, then the children are being possessed by these ghosts. And I won't give too much away, but really brilliant performance, really good performance by the woman playing the housemaid as well. I thought she was very good. The children are well cast. I mean, they're kind of annoying at the time. I'm convinced that maybe the writer of the story or maybe Jack Clayton as a director finds children really creepy and annoying, but they're well cast and they do a good job anyway. And I mean, when the girl is breaking down near the end, that's kind of terrifying, just her screams. But yeah, it's a beautifully paced film. It's really eerie and unnerving. I think the location, the style of the location is really effective. Some great music, some delicate little uses of sound. And importantly, Deborah Kerr really carries it. And there are some really big reveals later on, so it really pays off what it sets up. So yeah, I can't really speak highly enough of it. It's a classic psychological ghost story which has stood the test of time, and it has influenced a lot of other films. I mean, I think a lot of other films have similar sort of plots because of this. I mean, a classic example would be something like The Others, a more modern film from 2001. Nicole Kidman in that. Probably one of her best performances, but I really like The Others as well. But you sort of think without this film, there probably wouldn't be The Others. But The Innocents, I really love it. I'm going to give it a big thumbs up. And I'm going to give it 10 out of 10. I think it pretty much is perfection. Possibly one of the greatest horror movies ever made. So thank you for listening. If you've ever seen The Innocents, then let me know your thoughts on the film in the comments below. I welcome opposing views. And yeah, if you want to give a rating to the film out of 10, then please do so. I'd like to hear that. But I'm gonna get in as many horror movie reviews as I can in the month of October. I'm slowly gonna come back to TV. You'll notice I posted another Buffy review up yesterday, and more stuff like that to come. But thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys again soon. Goodbye.